Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing great today. All right. I'm going to wait for people to join me. I hope I'm on my channels Facebook, uh, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Okay, I think I'm on. Yes, I can see I'm on Instagram. I can see I'm on YouTube. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me, and hello to everyone again. All right, we're in a weird season, so it's important that uh, my firm and I were making it a duty to come on to at least once a week to give you guys very important information about the state of the affairs in immigration land as we know it. So thank you guys for joining me. Please don't forget to say hello when you join. Let me know you're here. And I have a great topic for you guys today. So for those who do not know me, my name is Ifeoma Odunlami. I'm a U.S. immigration lawyer with an office in New Jersey, but we represent clients in all 50 states. And it's my mission, the mission of my firm, our purpose is to help fellow immigrants gain legal status so that they can come out of the shadows, they can leave and live in the United States without fear of deportation, without fear of family separation, so that they can contribute meaningfully to this great country. So there's been a lot going on in the news since the election. It seems, of course, we know that immigration is a big priority of the next administration. And it's important for immigrants, intended immigrants, to know what's going on, to know the facts about the law, because like I always say, knowledge is power. you know if we look back to the way things were during Donald Trump's first administration, there was a lot of changes, and so we expect that again. We expect a lot of changes. We're committed to bringing you the real information, the facts. So please don't forget to subscribe to our channels. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we're on TikTok. So today, I want to talk about denaturalization. My office has gotten so many calls about people who want to know more about denaturalization. So where did this all come from? It came from a tweet that has resurrected, a tweet by Stephen Miller that resurrected after the election, where he said, during the first administration, Donald Trump had commissioned a new denaturalization project, and that in 2025, this will be turbocharged. The denaturalization project will be turbocharged. And I guess that got a lot of people anxious, because they don't even know what it means. So let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about what denaturalization means. So, denaturalization is a legal process by which the United States government revokes someone's naturalized citizenship, effectively stripping them of their status as a US citizen. So, denaturalization is different from deportation. Deportation applies to non citizen. Denaturalization applies to people who have naturalized and become citizens, and the government starts a legal proceeding, which is litigation, to take away their citizenship from them. And so I want you guys to know, for those who are really anxious, because I think from what I know is this: a lot of us immigrants just get anxious whenever we hear anything about immigration, not because we've done anything wrong, but just because there's that part of you that feels haunted when you people talk about immigrants, and the way they talk about them as if they are pox on this society, which we know they are not, because truly immigrants make America great. So the anxiety is from just knowing that there's a lot of hatred out there against immigrants. And so I want to try to de escalate that fear I want to explain to you what denaturalization is. I want to talk about who is at risk. I want to talk about how to protect yourself from denaturalization. So first of all, let's talk about denaturalization is not something that's common, right? In the past years, I guess before the first Trump administration, they were doing like maybe 11 denaturalizations a year, 11. And the reason is because it's a very expensive process, right? And the burden of proof on the government is very high. So the investigation into deciding whether somebody should be denaturalized is a long process. And so it's something that the government doesn't take lightly. Of course, there has been an increase in people that are being denaturalized. And according to Stephen Miller, they're going to be, they're going to increase it even more. So let's talk about the facts. Let's give you the facts so that you can rest easy and not worry when you hear all this words being thrown around. And these words are just being thrown around to make you anxious, to make you nervous, to make you live in fear and all that. But, the information I'm going to give you is going to help, help you with that. So let's talk about the reasons why people would get denaturalized. So the first reason is if you didn't qualify to become a U.S. citizen in the first place. So there are different requirements to becoming a U.S. citizen, and some of them, for instance, you have to be over the age of 18. You have to meet the physical presence requirement. You have to meet the continuous presence requirement. You have to be a person of good moral character, which means you cannot commit certain crimes. Maybe not, they want you to pay your taxes. Now, remember, with the taxes, it doesn't say you cannot owe the government. You can. It's just that you need to, be filing your taxes. So there's a lot. Those are the requirements, and sometimes there's some requirements that if you didn't meet them, and you became a citizen, they could look to denaturalize you because you didn't meet that. For instance, if you were under 18 and you filed, or you didn't meet the good moral character components, And I can tell you that in all the years I've been an attorney, which is about 30 years, 1994 is when I graduated from law school, I've only ever heard of people being denaturalized because they were Nazi sympathizers, or they were, they were involved in terrorist activities, that kind of stuff. But there's more. There are many reasons for people to get denaturalized. So that's what we're going to talk about. So the first one we've talked about is if they didn't qualify, right? And that's really rare, quite frankly, because, who is 17 and applies for citizenship and gets it? I think the officers do a pretty good job with making sure people meet the requirements, However, number two, if you misrepresented some fact, right? You lied about something, right? By omission or affirmatively, right? So that the officers didn't have this information, that could get you denaturalized. So it requires you to have misrepresented or concealed some fact. And that misrepresentation or concealment was willful, which means you did it on purpose, knowingly, right? And then the misrepresented or concealed fact was material, something really important. And then the naturalized US citizen procured citizenship as a result of the misrepresentation or concealment. All right? So it requires you to willfully misrepresent some fact, and it has to be a material fact to the government, either in your application, in the paperwork you submit, or during the test, the naturalization test. All right. So if you hide immigration violations, if you hide criminal history, those are the things that, could be part of it. But I can tell you that the government has pretty much taken the stance of not pursuing people really as a result of, things that fraud that they don't consider material, right? Or sometimes even if it's something that's important, like I said, in the past years, they've really focused on really egregious acts. But it looks like starting 2025, Steve Miller is saying that, they're going to really be looking at many things. I don't know what they're going to be looking for, but I'm going to be telling you some of the things that typically have gotten people denaturalized. So the third thing would be criminal activity or associations. So this typically are people who maybe committed war crimes in their country, right? Changed their names, came to the United States, and led a double life, became US citizens. If the government knows about it, they're going to denaturalize them, all right? Or people who are members in a prohibited organization, such as the Communist Party, a terrorist group, if you were a Nazi during the World War II, or you're affiliated with a group that's dedicated to overthrowing the United States government. So those are reasons that would get you denaturalized. Now, the last reason for denaturalization is if you got your military discharge under dishonorable conditions. And this portion is really for people who got their citizenship, and they got their citizenship through military service. Once you get your green card, you can apply for naturalization within a year of getting your green card. And so if you were dishonorably discharged, right, that could trigger denaturalization proceedings. All right. So let's talk about how to safeguard your citizenship, right? The first thing is clearly be honest during the naturalization process. Ensure that the information you provide in your application and during the interview is accurate and truthful. If you misrepresent facts, even if it's unintentional, it could give the government a fodder, and especially this government who, we're not sure what they're looking to do, but you want to make sure that you're really being honest with your application. And number two, another way to safeguard your citizenship is to maintain a clean legal record. Being a person of good moral character, avoiding, avoiding criminal activity, crimes involving moral turpitude, fraud, or national security threats, following all immigration laws, and avoiding activities that would appear to be in conflict with your allegiance to the United States. All right. And and another way to safeguard your citizenship is to keep records of your naturalization process. Keep records of your application, your naturalization certificate, your immigration documents through the years, including your green card application, because this can serve as evidence if you need to defend yourself against claims of fraud or misrepresentation. And if you have any concern about being denaturalized, you want to talk to an attorney as soon as possible, because early legal intervention can prevent minor issues from escalating. Another thing, you want to be aware of international laws. You want to understand the implications of dual citizenship. If you retain citizenship in another country, you want to ensure that the activities related to your second nationality do not conflict with your US laws or your allegiance to the United States. Now, another thing, the last thing I'm going to mention is you want to be, you want to participate in U.S. Civic life, demonstrating your integration into American society, you're voting, you're paying taxes, you're following the law, you're reinforcing your commitment to this country and the values it has. So I think that's really that. So having told you guys this, I think you can, you realize that I would say most of you are not at risk for denaturalization, so I hope this helps to keep you guys a little less, I guess, anxious about what's coming up, what's going to happen in the Trump administration. We do know there's going to be changes, right? We do know it's going to be tough. We know that from the first administration, but we are ready and we're working really hard. We have the legal organizations prepared to defend, human rights, because that's what immigrant rights really are. They're human rights. So I'm going to take some questions and then I'm going to head out. But I hope this information was helpful to you guys. So if it was helpful to you, you might want to pass it along to somebody who might find it helpful as well. Okay, so let's go to Instagram and I'll ask a couple of questions from Instagram, from YouTube, from TikTok, and from Facebook. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. I'm not seeing any questions on Instagram. Let's see. All right, Instagram. I don't think you guys have any questions. No questions on YouTube either. Oh, okay. So I have this question from Adeze. Sweetie says, "Hello, Ifoma. Thank you for what you do. I got my citizenship via asylum. Is it okay to travel back to my country for family medical reasons?" So Adeze, you filed asylum because you had a fear of persecution, right, in your country. So if that fear is no longer there, and you travel, and you can show, assuming somebody were to make an issue out of it, you can show that the whatever the reason was is no longer a reason, then I would assume that you're okay. But it's important for you to talk to a lawyer, make sure that I don't know the basis that you filed, so you want to make sure that it's okay. But typically, once you become a citizen, nobody's really, I've never heard of anybody who filed asylum being denaturalized because they went to their home country, right? I've never heard of that. And so I think maybe it's best to talk to an attorney just to be sure, because like I said, we're not sure what's going on with this administration coming up next. But if the threat is no longer there, I don't see any reason why you cannot go back to your country, okay? Let's see. Let me see if I can get one more question. So the boss man says, I have two questions. What is your definition of a documented and undocumented? So he says an asylee that has work authorization and social security, what's his or her fate under Trump? So this is a really great question. Thank you for asking that. So let me, somebody who's documented is somebody that has papers. You have papers to live here, you have papers to work here, you have legal status, right? Then somebody who's undocumented is somebody who has no legal status in the United States. And that's a good question you asked about whether, as an asylee who has a work permit, whether you're documented or undocumented. So an asylee is in a period of authorized stay, right? So authorized stay means that you're allowed to stay here, you're allowed to work because your case is pending. And a lot of people who are putting applications that have not been adjudicated are in a period of authorized stay. So they will do well. They're fine under Donald Trump. They're not going to be deported, right? Unless there's an order of deportation. So that's what you want to be sure, because sometimes we've had clients who were ordered deported, but they got a green card. I don't know how that happened. So you want to make sure there's no order of deportations. However, if you have a pending asylum case, you are in a period of authorized stay. If you have a pending matter, you are in a period of authorized stay, and you should not worry about being deported for just because of this. You can be put in deportation proceedings if you commit a crime or there's any other allegations of immigration impropriety against you. All right? Okay, let's. So Dridge says, can a green card holder file for her adult child over 21? Dridge, yes, you can file for your adult child over 21, but the child has to be unmarried, okay? A green card holder cannot file for a married son or daughter. So that's what we call somebody who's over 21 is a son or daughter. A child is under 21, okay? All right. So Bailey Tachika says, good evening, beautiful. Well, hello. what do you think is going to happen to SIJ? My son has a court date next year, February. Well, I did read some parts of Project 2025, and it does appear that the Trump administration is coming after certain humanitarian case types, such as SIJ. We're not sure what they're planning to do, but your son has I think is a family guardianship hearing in February. We don't know what they're planning to do, so I can't really speak to that. But what I can say is, if you have an SIJ petition that has already been filed, you're likely going to be grandfathered into whatever the existing law is right now if the law were to change. So a lot of the things that we're not sure what is going to happen after January 20th. There may be changes in the law, but they may not be drastic. They may not affect the basis of that pathway. So it's kind of hard to say, but I would say that February is soon enough. Donald Trump takes office January 20th. Hopefully, SIJ is not a priority to him. So if that's the case, then once you get your case, if you get the predicate order, what you typically want to do is to file the SIJ right away. Okay. All right. So let's go to TikTok and see if I can ask a couple of questions for the good folks there. Let's see. All right. It's like, I feel like there's a lot of questions, but it's all the way to the bottom. So, all right. So Onyimbo Ifeanyi says, my I-485 has been processed and was supposed to be approved this month, but now it's saying 15 months. Onyimbo, that's pretty, I guess that's the processing times. That's what you're talking about. And the processing times are just what it is, the processing times. I mean, it could take less time. It could take more time. It's just a guide, it's a guideline. Yeah, things are backlogged. I know that. So the processing time, processing guidelines are just guidelines, so it doesn't mean it's going to take 15 months. It could. So I would just say, just hang in there. Backlogs are a reality of immigration. There's, depending on how long you've been waiting, you might have other pathways to making it move faster. Okay. So maybe you should reach out to an attorney. You can call my office. Let's see if anything can be done. 973-993-1900. So let's see. All right. So C. Herbo says, hi, attorney. Does the new VAWA interview affect previous applicants? And is it for couples who change from I-130? So C. Herbo, you're talking about the new advisory we got about VAWA cases. So for those who have not heard, USCIS said that they're going to be doing VAWA interviews starting December 2024, and it applies to people who filed the VAWA and adjustment of status at the same time. So as to your question, whether it applies to people who changed from I-130, it doesn't say. I don't think it cares whether you change from I-130. If you file VAWA, you file an adjustment of status, they could, you could be subject to having an interview. And they're very clear that it's certain people, not everyone. Now, if you file just the VAWA alone without the adjustment of status, they're not interviewing those people. And the reason is because there's been a lot of fraud with VAWA applications, a lot. And there's people who are filing fraudulent VAWA cases. And apparently there's this big investigation in New York, Maryland, and Massachusetts. And so USCIS is making sure that the VAWA applications are real. And the thing is, the problem with those fraudulent filings is it affects people who genuinely have been victims of abuse. And now it makes it, it basically puts a cast on the whole VAWA application process. So yes, it does apply to people who have filed previously, people who are going to file in the future, and they're very clear as to who they're going to be interviewing in terms of the case type. If you file for VAWA and you file for adjustment of status at the same time, you could be subject to an interview. All right. Oh, well, you're welcome, Soji Shongolade, who says he's happy to be a part of the program. I'm glad that you got value from it. So Ortiz21 says, I applied for VAWA 2 years ago and never received a prima facie. Should I be worried? Not really, quite frankly, because I've had clients, sometimes USCIS just doesn't send prima facies in error, right? So in my office, we'll follow up with them and ask for the prima facie letter. And you're supposed to, the first time you get it, it's good for 1 year. And after that, you get it every 6 months. And USCIS is supposed to send it automatically. Sometimes they forget as well. If you've gotten it the first time, I wouldn't worry about it, them not giving you, it's typically just an error. I've had clients who never got a prima facie, but they got their VAWA approved and they got their green card. But what I would tell you is, if you haven't gotten the prima facie, typically, if they don't intend to send it to you, they send you an RFE. But if you're worried, send out a letter to them and remind them that you haven't received your prima facie. That's really it. All right. So Magdalena says, how do I expedite a case for my mom? I-130, my grandmother filed for her in 2019. Those cases take a long time. So if your grandmother filed for your mother in 2019, it's going to take a while. All right. The visa bulletin is really backlogged for certain categories, most of them actually. So it's going to take a while. And typically, to expedite those cases, it has to be a matter of life or death, So yeah. Somebody says, can Trump stop naturalization by marriage? Well, you don't naturalize by marriage. You get your green card by marriage, and then you can naturalize after 3 years if you're still with your spouse in marital union, or 5 years if you're no longer with your spouse. Okay. And Trump cannot stop people from getting green cards through marriage, and he cannot stop you from naturalizing if you qualify. All right. Yeah, that girl, Laura, I talked about the VAWA interview just now. So just scroll back. Nkem says, what questions do they ask on VAWA interview? Nkem, they haven't conducted it yet, so nobody has gone for VAWA interview. VAWA has typically never had an interview, so we really don't know. But I suspect that they want to make sure that what you said happened to you is what happened. They want to, ask questions with regards to what your submission was, your declaration, to make sure that that's really what happened to you. Because I've heard of people that have people just make up stories. So yeah, I suspect that's what they're going to be asking for the VAWA portion of it, and for the adjustment of status portion is just in whether you're admissible. Have you committed some crimes? Is there any reason why you shouldn't get your green card? Let's see. So Nilechi says, how long does it take to get your green card after VAWA approval and after sending RFE for medical? It really depends. So if you've gotten your VAWA approval and you've sent your RFE for the medical, it's probably going to take anywhere, probably 3-4 months. You're almost there. Congratulations. Somebody said, do you accept MetLife payments? No, I don't. All right. So, Saji said, thank you. Okay, you're happy because I replied your message. All right. Excuse me. Let me see. I'm going to take a message from YouTube. So Lavelle says, children who apply for SJIS and get a work permit, will they be okay? Yes, they will be, because they're already in deferred status. They already got SJIS. They're in deferred status. They'll be fine. If there are any changes made to SJIS, it will be to people who are getting ready to file. Okay, that's typically the way it works. So Michael Tete says, my arrest case was dismissed, which I later expunged. I did not plead guilty because there was no trial. I got married to a U.S. citizen in August 2024. Will I be on the radar for deportation? Michael, I think I talked about the things that would put you on the radar for deportation. If the case was dismissed and you didn't plead guilty, then I think you're fine. But expungement doesn't. Let me just tell you guys this: expungement does not work for immigration. When you expunge a criminal case, immigration forms are very clear that you must tell them about that crime or that arrest that you expunged. Expungement is really good for when, for maybe a prospective employer, you don't want them to see that criminal record. But when it comes to immigration, they want you to confess to any criminal activity, whether it was expunged or not. So just be careful about that. Read those forms carefully, okay? So, Colwinda says, does filing a 601A give you any protection against deportation order issued by a judge in 1997? I honestly don't think so, because you already have a deportation order. You're already ordered deported. So that's not a lot of protection, quite frankly. All right. I think the thing the thing is this, Colwinda, even though Donald Trump wants to deport 11 million people, the bottom line is that it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time, and they're really going to have to prioritize certain people for deportation. People that already have deportation orders. Yes. So, I think you should talk to an attorney and see if there's any other pathway that may work for you that you may not be aware of. Okay. All right. So Boss says you have a pending case, but you're currently waiting for your time frame before filing EAD. What is your fate on that, Trump, regarding documentation? Well, Boss, you've already filed for asylum, so that's your protection. The EAD and the SSN, filing for an EAD and filing for Social Security number is not what gives you any protection. You have an asylum petition. You're waiting for the case to be adjudicated. So right now you're in a period of authorized stay because you're waiting for your case to be heard. All right. So guys, I'm gonna run. But like I said, I hope this information on denaturalization was helpful to you guys. Please subscribe and follow me on all platforms. Okay. Take care. Have a great evening.